Hello viewers, I hope I am visible and audible, and I hope on YouTube Live I will be talking about every single long form video that I have uploaded on this channel. The number is north of 150, so this video, so I hope the internet holds, and I hope this is a long. So the first video, and I have display them on the screen, but able to exit on YouTube, was on 11th January 2024, and the video was titled An Indian's Perspective to MRCS ENT in 2024. This is, believe it or not, one of the most watched videos on my channel. Despite it being the first video, it was not polished, neither is this live stream, to be honest, but it was much less polished back then. All I used to do was I used to make PowerPoint presentations and record a voiceover without revealing my face. I don't know if that was the right policy or the wrong, but that's how I approached it back then. So in the first video that I uploaded on YouTube way back in January 2024, I talked about my entire MRCS journey till that point, and I had not completed the journey. I still don't believe I have completed the journey, but I talked about my journey till that point. So I talked about how I had booked the exam for MRCS Part A in February of 2022. I appeared in MRCS Part A in a center in Kolkata in September 2022, and I passed MRCS Part A in the very first attempt. Upon passing MRCS Part A, I understood that I now have to appear in another exam. For those who don't know, MRCS Part A is a multiple choice question exam consisting of two papers. Paper 1 has 180 questions, paper 2 has 120 questions, and there is a gap of 1 hour between the two papers. Once I passed this exam, and that is why I have a YouTube channel now, because I feel I should also share my experience, because lots of people must also be searching on YouTube for answers, just like I was doing in May 2023. After that, I went to London to get this diploma that you can see behind me, and once I got the diploma in English language proficiency test, which was the occupational English test, and when I passed occupational English test, then I applied for EPIC verification of my MBBS degree and the membership confirmation letter, which I had received from the Royal College of Surgeons of England. Once this was complete, I applied for registration to the General Medical Council. Of course, all of that did not happen when I had uploaded my first video. So at the time of my first video on YouTube on 11th January, I had not completed EPIC verification. So it was just after I had passed the English language proficiency test and I had started the EPIC verification process. I was waiting for my documents to be verified, and to be really honest, a YouTube channel was a very good distraction from having to wait for a long period, worrying about whether my documents are going to be verified on time or not, how much time it would take. There was a delay related to EPIC getting transformed into My Intel, and their services being suspended for some time. There was even talk on Instagram about people being really upset with the pause in services, because EPIC is a very important organization for lots of people, not just people like me, but for American doctors. Even some patients require EPIC for some uses. So that was the first video. Then the next video I was titled Why MRCS ENT After MS ENT. Lots of people have still been asking me, even till this date. People ask me, why should we even bother about MRCS ENT? Because MS ENT is a postgraduate qualification, MRCS ENT is also a postgraduate qualification. MS ENT is acceptable in India, MRCS ENT is not acceptable in India. So if I have a postgraduate qualification that is acceptable in India and I am an Indian, then why would I look for another postgraduate qualification that is so expensive to get, requires so much studying, requires even traveling outside India, and it is not acceptable in India. So why would I want to go for that? That's a very legitimate question. But one possible explanation is MSc ENT is acceptable in India. True, you can practice all over India if you have MS ENT or DNB ENT or any postgraduate qualification in ENT. But MS ENT does not have much value outside India, or any postgraduate qualification obtained from an Indian university does not have much value outside India, whereas MRCS ENT awarded by the Royal College of Surgeons of the United Kingdom and Ireland, this degree is recognized globally, it has international prestige, and if not anything else, it helps your self-confidence that the training that you obtained in India, the knowledge that you gained in India is equivalent to an acceptable postgraduate qualification in the UK. So it can boost your confidence, and passing exams in India is one thing, passing exams in the UK does work wonders for your self-confidence, especially if you have completed postgraduate training in India. So immediately after I made that video, I felt that some people might have been convinced to so the next video, the third video I uploaded was titled eligible. That was uploaded again on 13th January, was MRCS eligibility criteria. Now the only eligibility criteria for MRCS is having a primary medical qualification from a medical college that is included in the World Directory of Medical Schools, WDOMS. So basically you have to Google World Directory of Medical Schools qualification or MBBS. If your college is featured on the list on the website of World Directory of Medical Schools criteria, there is no requirement of having undergone postgraduate training. Most people who do appear in MRCS are postgraduate trainees or have completed postgraduate training. That is not because it is an eligibility criteria, it is simply because it helps make the exam easier. If you have postgraduate training, especially in general surgery, it is easier to pass MRCS, but it is not an eligibility criteria. There is no upper age criteria also, so even if you are old like me, you can still appear in MRCS. So there is no upper age criteria. The only criteria there is the attempt limit. You cannot appear in MRCS Part A more than 6 times. You cannot appear in the second part of MRCS more than 4 times. And after passing MRCS Part A, you have to pass the second part within 7 years. So if more than 7 years elapses between passing first part and appearing the second part, then you are no longer eligible. You can't even start over from scratch again. You are just that, so if you have passed MRCS Part A and you did not pass the second part in 4 attempts or more than 7 years have elapsed, then you cannot really hope to become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons. Now, the fourth video I uploaded was titled IELTS or OET. Now, if you have passed MRCS, then the question that automatically you have to reckon with is, do you want to emigrate to the United Kingdom or not? If you do want to emigrate to the United Kingdom, then you have to obtain registration with the General Medical Council. The General Medical Council or GMC governs the practice of medicine in the United Kingdom. You have to demonstrate that you are proficient in the use of the English language. How do you demonstrate that? You either have to appear in IELTS or you have to take occupational English test. I made a comparison video. This was the fourth video that was also uploaded on 17th January 2024, where I compared IELTS with OET. IELTS is less expensive compared to OET, but the standard of English expected in IELTS is much higher than that expected in OET, and OET also has the advantage that it is largely tailor-made for healthcare professions, all professions. IELTS, however, is more popular and more widely accepted than OET. So before you get convinced either way, please do check which exam is acceptable to the regulator. As far as GMC is concerned, both OET and IELTS are acceptable, but it is advisable to always do your research before you finally book the exam. So in my fourth video, I compared IELTS with the fifth video that I uploaded on 21st January. 21st January marked a very prolific day. This was because I believe I had taken down some of my other videos where I had accidentally divulged some personal information. So I had taken those videos down and I tried to re-upload all of them minus those slides where certain personal information was visible, and I uploaded a bunch of them on the same day. So this was on 21st January. The first video I uploaded on that date is how to pass MRCS Part A in first attempt without coaching and without being a general surgeon, because this is what had happened to me. I was not a general surgeon and I had not taken any coaching to pass MRCS Part A, and I did pass MRCS Part A in the first attempt. However, I did not include that in the title because I don't want to discourage anyone who did not pass MRCS Part A in the first attempt. Make no mistake about it, MRCS Part A is a very difficult exam, and if you haven't passed it in the first attempt, there is no need to feel bad, because it is a difficult exam and there is no guarantee that anyone can pass any exam. Even today, if I am asked to appear in MRCS Part A and maybe the same time is take the exam, I can't say with full certainty, despite having passed MRCS Part A in my first attempt, that even if I prepare for 6 months again and appear in the same exam, I will definitely pass the exam again. Even if the same questions are asked, I am not sure I'll be able to pass. So maybe I am too modest in that way, I don't know, but MRCS Part A is a difficult exam, and if you haven't passed in the first attempt, don't give up. My advice would be to attempt it one more time, at least one more time. So how did I pass MRCS Part A in my first attempt without coaching and without being a general surgeon? I googled it and I found, see, the most important thing in my opinion when you're preparing for an exam, and it might sound a little bit ridiculous, you might think I'm not being serious, but in my opinion the best way to pass an exam is first identify a scapegoat. It's very important. You should find a scapegoat, you should find a person or an entity to blame. So when I was preparing for PG entrance exams, the entity was DAMS, Delhi Academy of Medical Sciences, I believe. So I blindly followed the preparation strategy that was suggested to me by DAMS, and mentally I knew that if I get a good rank, I to the T. So luckily I got a great rank and I thank DAMS from the bottom of my heart, and that's how I became a postgraduate trainee in India. For MRCS Part A, I decided to blindly trust advice on Google, and that too I searched how to pass MRCS Part A, and I remember getting a result stating that you have to know thoroughly 2 out of the following 3 resources, any 2 out of the following 3 resources, one being EMRCS, the other being past test, and the third being FOSSEA recall sheets. So I chose EMRCS and past test of the explanations, and I appeared in many practice tests. I did not compromise with that. I think I appeared in almost 30 to 40 practice tests repeatedly, and so I was very about the exam, because I was solving 180 questions at a time, I was solving 120 questions at a time, and it was appearing to be quite easy to me. Practice questions and test questions are not exactly the same. They may be on the same topic, but it requires a lot of analysis. So my secret to success without coaching was I practiced a lot of questions, I appeared in a lot of practice tests, and I watched anatomy videos on the past test app, which are magnificent. Anatomy is probably the most widely asked question in MRCS Part A, and I did not struggle much with it because I watched the videos. And if you watch anatomy videos, it's like being in a dissection hall, from first year MBBS. If you watch those videos, it really stays with you much more than if you read from a book or just solve questions. So I owe a lot of my success to the great questions on EMRCS and the great anatomy videos on past test, and the fact that I appeared in multiple practice tests, which really, EPIC verification is a very important step. EPIC stands for Electronic Portfolio of International Credentials. Basically, it is an American organization. You have to pay them some dollars, I believe get GMC registration through the Royal College membership route. So this is a complicated process. First you need to create an EPIC ID, which takes about 15 minutes, and then you have to verify that you are really the who is creating that account. So you have to verify your identity. You have to organize a video call with an American, and that also is a very complicated affair. All of this has been described in my video titled EPIC verification. Now for me, EPIC verification was particularly difficult because at that time EPIC was changing into My Intel and the services were suspended for some time, and I had to wait for almost a month. So it was quite frustrating, but luckily EPIC verification happened quite college from where you obtained your MBBS degree, and they verify whether you actually studied there. They verify whether your degree is genuine or not. Same thing with the Royal College of Surgeons. They'll get in touch with them and verify whether you actually have passed the exam or not. And once it is verified, they will submit a verification report to you, which you can forward by sharing the EPIC ID with the General Medical Council. If you are completing EPIC verification for the purpose of registering yourself with the General Medical Council in the UK. So that was my video on education. More difficult than MRCS Part A. I would not say it is more difficult, it is more expensive. I'm sorry, I have misspoken. MRCS ENT OSCE is more expensive than MRCS Part A, but MRCS ENT OSCE is not more difficult than MRCS Part A, because in MRCS ENT OSCE you just have to deal with ENT to take coaching, because I wanted to pay the expensive examination fees only once. I wanted to pass MRCS ENT OSCE in the first attempt. So what did I do? I searched on YouTube how to pass MRCS ENT OSCE in the first attempt, and luckily I found a great video on YouTube which said I should take a course called Don's. Started participating in the course. I knew that I would definitely pass. I saw people around me who were passing easily, so I knew that I would also pass, and sure as I had believed, I passed MRCS ENT OSCE in my first attempt in May 2023. So I would strongly recommend Dr. Osama Salim's Don's Master course, even though I don't stand to gain financially if you subscribe to that course, but it is definitely a worthwhile investment. If you want to pass MRCS ENT OSCE, even if you don't have any prior experience of ENT Master course, you'll definitely pass if you are serious about it. You just have to follow the instructions. They tell you what to study, and they also tell you how to study, and they really help you out in terms of how to tackle the exam. So it's a very good course. So the 8th video that I uploaded on YouTube on 21st January 2024 was titled How to Become a Member of the Royal College of Surgeons after passing MRCS. MRCS stands for Member of Royal College of Surgeons. If you have passed MRCS, then why do you require a tutorial to become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons? This is something which even I felt did not require a tutorial, but it does, because passing MRCS ENT does not automatically make you a member of the Royal College of Surgeons. What it does is it gives you the opportunity to become a member. Now I understand nobody wants to appear in MRCS and then not become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons, but just passing the exam is not enough. You also have to do something else, which is you have to pay the membership fees, and you can't just walk up to the Royal College of Surgeons and pay the membership fees, although probably if you are from the UK, maybe you can do that. I don't know. I was not from the UK, so I did not entertain that option. So what you have to do is, after you have passed MRCS and you've received the email stating that you have passed MRCS, you have to wait for another email where you will be invited to become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons. Once you get the invitation email, you have to reply the yes, you want to become a member, and then they'll send you a link for paying the membership fees. Now the membership fees is different for different countries. For India it is £45 when I became a member. This is the annual membership fees, and you also have to pay a one-time fees, which I believe was 180 British pounds if I remember correctly. So the first time you become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons, if you are from India, you have to pay a sum of 225 British pounds. Then they'll send another email to you confirming that you have become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons. You can also request them for a membership confirmation letter, which is very important when you will try to get your EPIC verification. So this is the process, how to become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons after passing MRCS. You don't automatically become a member. You have to respond to their emails, you have to pay the membership fees, and you have to receive a confirmation email from them that yes, you have become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons. So basically a formality, but you have to complete a few more steps after passing the exam. The 9th video that I had uploaded was exam day lessons from MRCS Part A. Now this was an interesting thing for me because MRCS Part A, I had taken MRCS Part A from a center in Kolkata. This was one of the things that I found very thrilling about MRCS Part A is how well organized the exam was, because I got a call from them the day before the exam. They were very helpful, although I know most places in Kolkata very well, but they were very helpful in providing me directions exactly how to reach the exam venue. And even on reaching the exam venue, they were very professional. They frisked me and in Ireland, and this exam is being conducted, and each candidate is supposed to behave properly during the exam. So if an exam can be conducted on a global basis, on a global scale, without any accusations of lack of integrity, I wonder why it is so difficult within one country. Exam was conducted. People, including me, 6 candidates, a computer screen, and the first paper was of 3 hours duration, which went by like a blur because each question required excruciating analysis and my head was aching. And then the exam ended only to realize that there was another exam of 2 hours duration after a gap of 1 hour. So that 1 hour I was just feeling nervous because I did not feel the first paper went as well as I was hoping it to be. Then the second paper happened and I felt more confident with the second paper, but as it turned out, I got a greater percentage of questions correct in the first paper than I did in the second paper. Overall, all's well that ends well. I got, I think, 209 questions correct out of 300, and the cutoff was, I believe, 199 or 197. So I was very happy with my result. But on the exam day, I felt that yes, the exam is conducted very professionally. Yes, it is a very difficult exam which requires a lot of analysis, and it is very important to keep track of time because I remember finishing both papers just in time. So you have to be very careful not to end up analyzing a question too much, which is quite easy to do because most questions that are asked in MRCS Part A, although they are multiple choice questions, they require a lot of analysis. First you have to understand the question, then you have to read and exclude, rule out each option individually. So it does require analysis, and it's very easy to take up too much time with one question and end up finding it difficult to complete the entire paper. The other lesson that I had learned, or a mental note that I had made, is I did consider the possibility that I would not pass the exam. So what I did was, when I came back home, I wrote down that I needed to read a few textbooks because my preparation was solely based on EMRCS and past test. As I said earlier in this video, my scapegoat was EMRCS and past test. So that's one thing. One thing to have a scapegoat, blame the entities, but you also need another plan. What is plan B? So plan B for me was I would appear in the exam again, but this time I would appear in it by studying from textbooks. So if you ask me now, immediately after MRCS Part A, I thought my chances of passing the exam were 50-50. I was not very confident after MRCS Part A, but I did pass. I got almost 70%, and I was very happy after that. The next video that I had uploaded was on the same day, This was MRCS ENT OSCE non-manned exam day lessons. So as I said, MRCS part A consisted of 2 papers. Both needed to be taken on the same day. There was a gap of 1 hour in between. Paper 1 had 180 questions, it was of 3 hours duration. Paper 2 was of 120 questions, 2 hours duration. Just like MRCS part A, which had 2 papers, MRCS ENT OSCE also had 2 parts, but these were on separate days. There was the non-manned exam and there was the manned exam. So the non-manned exam day lessons were, the non-manned exam happens on a computer, basically on a laptop, your own laptop. You can take it even from the comfort of your own bedroom. But I had taken non-manned exam from Glasgow. So I went to Glasgow, I checked into a hotel, a reasonably fancy hotel, and I asked the receptionist repeatedly, has there been any issue with your Wi-Fi of late? I need good, reliable Wi-Fi without interruption for a duration of at least 3 hours. To which they asked, why do you need Wi-Fi for 3 hours? I said there's an exam and repeatedly nobody should disturb me, nobody should knock on the door. I hung the do not disturb sign outside my door, and I kept my room clean, because there are these rules and regulations one has to follow, one has to adhere to, because although the exam is taken from the comfort of your own home, you are monitored through the webcam of your own computer. So if you are even reading the question infraction, that can be considered to be you asking the answers loudly. Maybe somebody is there in the room or in the next room who is able to hear your answers and hear your questions and answer them to help you, which will be considered something in violation of the rules and regulations. So it was, for me, non-manned exam day lesson was mostly, I was very nervous about whether I was in violation of any rules or not, despite being very cautious about them. You had to look at the screen at all times, you had to ensure your lips were not moving while you were reading the questions silently, and you also, and the main lesson I learnt again with non-manned exam is the questions required so much analysis. So time management again became an issue. But luckily for me, during the non-manned exam, I did not spend too much time analyzing a question. There was one question right at the beginning of the exam which I felt required a lot of analysis. So I abandoned that question. I didn't even analyze it. I completed the other questions. I believe there were 20 questions, each carrying 20 marks. So I did the other 19 questions, and I had about 1 hour left towards the end of the exam, which I devoted solely for that one question which required extensive analysis. And I believe I spent about 40 minutes analyzing those questions, and still I believe I did not get most of them correct. But so my main exam day lesson in non-manned exam was don't spend too much time analyzing each individual question, be very careful about the time, and above all else ensure that your physical infrastructure is of top-notch quality. Your laptop is fulfills the specifications required, your Wi-Fi is fast and reliable, and that you are in a room where nobody disturbs you. Because as it turned out, people who were very well prepared ended up with their laptop crashing. Maybe the laptops were not of good enough quality, I don't know. Some people had Wi-Fi issues, and all of them had to take the exam one more time. So the main thing about non-manned exam is ensuring that the physical requirements are met, the network requirements, the computer hardware requirements, the software requirements, these requirements are met. This is of paramount importance, and of course, while you are solving questions, don't analyze a question too much so that it becomes difficult for you to complete the paper, because there are 20 questions. Each question has about 8 to 10 parts. There are sections A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and each part requires analysis. You have to answer by typing the answer. You have to type fast, and you have to type the right thing, and you get only about 2.5 hours, 150 minutes. So you can't spend too much time analyzing, too much time thinking. You have to type fast, you have to complete the paper, and you have to of course answer the questions correctly without making any mistake regarding reading questions loudly perhaps, or looking here and there away from the camera. You can't indulge in any behavior that can be suspected to be resorting to foul means, illegal means. So you have to be very, very careful during non-manned exam. So these were the exam day lessons I learned on the non-manned exam. Although I felt, unlike MRCS Part A, where I was very nervous about my chances, after non-manned exam I felt quite confident, because I felt I had answered almost everything correctly. I was focused on some mistakes I had made, but I felt that most of the questions I had done really well in. And as it turned out, when the results were declared, I had done well in almost all questions. I was getting 18. I remember looking through my mark sheet. I remember getting 18 out of 20, 19 out of 20, 20 out of 20 in many questions. And so I was very happy with that. The next video that I had uploaded on YouTube, this again was the same, on the same day, 21st January. This was manned exam day lesson. So as I said, MRCS ENT OSCE had two parts: non-manned exam, which I described now, which was taken from the comfort of your own home from a laptop. But the manned exam, you needed to go to a venue where you had to encounter examiners. So my manned exam was in Glasgow, and it was in a venue called Trades Hall, if I remember correctly. I remember going to the place, asking people a day before the exam. I went to the place, I asked people, where is this building, Trades Hall, and nobody was able to help me. I don't know if they didn't want to help me or they didn't know where the place is, but I had actually crossed the building multiple times and nobody could tell me that it was this building that I was crossing or standing in front of that I was looking for. Maybe it was known by some other name, or people just did not want to help me. I don't know. But I saw the name on the building and I could understand that yes, this is the building where the exam was going to be held. And I remember reaching the exam venue on the day of my manned exam about 2 hours before time. And I was waiting outside the venue. I thought there would be a big crowd of people waiting outside the exam center, as is the case in India, but there was no one waiting outside the venue. So I was a bit nervous again. I felt maybe I'm in the wrong venue. So I went inside the building and I asked someone that, is this exam happening today here? And the person I asked was very nervous. The person was like, you've come here for the exam, you're too late. I said, no, I'm not late. The exam starts 2 hours from now. He said, oh, okay, so you're here for the afternoon session. I thought you were late for the morning session. So that was a funny exchange, and then I said I can wait outside if you want me to wait outside. So they said, no, wait inside. It's warmer inside. Remember, this was May in 2023 in Glasgow, and we were looking for a place warm enough to stay in. That speaks volumes regarding the weather in Scotland. Even in May, it is quite chilly. For a person like me from India, the May of Scotland feels like the winter of Delhi. So I was waiting inside a room, and I believe I waited for hours. The worst part of the manned exam was the waiting. So we kept waiting for hours and hours, and we kept going through our notes, and once the exam started, we got into a flow, and most of the exam was perfect, except one tiny aspect of it where I had to draw a certain picture, and I did not feel I drew it properly. So I asked during the debriefing session, I asked the person who was conducting the debriefing session, I asked them how many marks were allotted to that picture, and he said 1 mark. So I asked him again, are you sure it's just 1 mark? And I said, yes, it's just 1 mark. And the entire group of examinees started laughing very loudly, because it was admittedly a very silly question. But yes, it did calm my nerves, because I was only nervous about that one particular picture I had drawn, which I felt I could have drawn much better. Otherwise, the exam was quite good. I remember receiving feedback from the examiners after every station, where they said that, yes, you've done well, very good, something like that. And mostly I had heard from my colleagues who had appeared in the exam earlier that the examiners don't say anything. They are extremely silent, and you can't really understand from their facial expressions whether you've done well in a station or not. And here they were going out of their way and explicitly telling me that I had done well, which really made me worried, to be honest, because were they trying to be extra nice? Was I being too nervous? I don't know. But perhaps upon hindsight, I feel I actually did perform well. That is why they said I had done well. So my main exam day lesson from the manned exam was uh, expect a lot of waiting. It's always better to reach early than late, because people may not be able to recognize the venue, help you out with locating the venue. And don't be too nervous if any particular section of the test does not go as well as you want it to go, because it is a test and some parts will be more difficult than others. You can't expect to get everything easy and everything correct without any effort. Some questions will be difficult. So I was very optimistic after the in fact, I was more confident about my performance in the manned exam than the non-manned exam, which already had gone quite well. So I was really optimistic that I would pass MRCS ENT OSCE, which as it turned out I did comfortably. I remember getting 407, I believe, out of 520, which was comfortably more than the cutoff. I think 40 marks more than the cutoff. So I was very happy with that. The next video I uploaded was MRCS Part A frequently asked questions. Now, some people may have thought when I uploaded this video I was going to talk about the questions asked in the exam. No, frequently asked questions, while it does sound like a clickbaity title talking about the frequently asked questions in the exam, it does not, because we are prohibited from discussing the questions asked in the exam. So in that video I talked about the frequently asked questions that people have asked me about MRCS Part A. So the question that I really want to address in today's video is that MRCS Part A is a very difficult exam. Regardless of when you are taking the exam, whether you're taking it just after MBBS or during post-graduation or after post-graduation as I did, it is a difficult exam and there is no guarantee that you're going to pass the exam. Even though I passed MRCS Part A in my first attempt, I cannot guarantee that you will. I cannot tell you exactly how I passed it, and even if I told you exactly what I did and you did exactly those things, it may not work for you. So whenever there is an exam like MRCS Part A, there is always the possibility of an unexpected result, pleasant or unpleasant. So you have to come to terms with it. You have to take the plunge, take the leap of faith, and you have to book the exam. It is an expensive exam, and I understand the hesitation that people have. I remember hesitating for 6 years to appear in MRCS Part A. I first thought of MRCS Part A in 2016 and I ended up appearing in it in 2022. So it is a difficult exam, there is no getting around the fact, but you can pass it even if you are not a general surgeon, even if you don't have coaching, because if you just by devoting time to it. And there are many online coaching options available as well. The one that I recommend, because people who I know have taken that coaching and done extremely well, is the one provided by Dr. Salah, S-A-L-A-H. There are other options available also which I believe must be good, but the one I know from people I trust is Dr. Salah. However, I did not take any coaching and I passed because I practiced a lot of questions from EMRCS and past tests. I watched anatomy videos and I solved a lot of practice tests. That was my strategy. So that was the video on MRCS Part A. Knowing ENT per the NHS, that would help you a lot. So that's what I had done. Now the next video I made, this was uploaded on 22nd January. This was UK visa, my experience. Now my experience with UK visa was very seamless till the session that in May 2023. UK visa was a big issue, especially in the post-pandemic world. UK visa had become an issue because there was a long waiting period. People had to wait for a long time. But I applied for the visa online. I scheduled an appointment. I paid the requisite money, submitted my passport, submitted my biometric details, and I got the passport delivered to my home in I think 10 days time, 10 business days. So it was a very seamless experience for me, and I described that in detail in that video titled UK visa, my experience. The next video I made was about MRCS ENT OSCE half exam in India, half exam in outside India. Now, as I said, non-manned exam needs to be taken on a laptop. So why bother to go to another country with your laptop? You can take the exam in India and then travel to the other country, whether it is UK or Ireland, for the manned exam only, which makes a lot of sense. And today it is possible because now the gap between non-manned exam and manned exam is about 10 days. So it is quite easy. You can finish the non-manned exam and take the next flight to. When I appeared in the exam, the gap was only 48 hours. So finishing the non-manned exam and then going to an airport which has a flight to London or Dublin or Glasgow, it would take a lot of time, and I was very nervous about the logistics of it. So I took both exams in Scotland, in Glasgow. However, with the current system where there is a gap of exam from your home, just ensure that your laptop is of the best quality, your Wi-Fi connectivity is perfect, and your room is completely silent. So on 23rd January, I uploaded a very interesting video titled Total Cost of MRCS ENT. Now this was the cost that I had to pay. The travel expenses, all of that amounted to close to 6 lakh Indian rupees for me. So it might be different for you because I had booked an expensive hotel. If you book a less expensive hotel, maybe it will be less. Again, I was there for both non-manned and manned exam. Go there just for the manned. February of 22 to till about I think May of 2023. So that was my expense on MRCS ENT. After that, on 24th January, I had uploaded a video titled MRCS ENT OSCE Important Rules for Non-Manned Exam. So the important rules are email from the exam conducting authority, clearly mentioning how much RAM is required, how much what kind of processing power is required, which operating system is required. All of these criteria should be met. You should not try to, it doesn't get that laptop which matches the criteria. And of course, you need a good Wi-Fi connection so you can run an internet speed check. All of that is very, very important that you get all of this done before the exam. But the most important rule, apart from the technical specification, is that you should be in a room that is completely silent. There should not be any loud knocking on your door or people talking loudly from the next room that can be heard from this room. There should not be anyone else in the room, that goes without saying. You should not have any books or any material that can be considered to be material that you can use for cheating, like a smartphone or a smartwatch. All these things not allowed, and you have to be in a quiet, well lit room, constantly looking at the computer screen, not reading questions loudly. So these are, the list of rules is long, and please check out that video, because these rules may well be the difference between you passing the exam and you not just failing the exam. Because if you are found to be violating any of the rules, not only will you fail that MRCS again, so you may be debarred from the exam altogether, So that becomes a very bad situation. So it's very important that you know the rules. So that was that video. After this I described the MRCS ENT route to the UK in a step-by-step fashion. So the first part is appearing in MRCS Part A, passing MRCS Part A, appearing in MRCS ENT OSCE, passing MRCS ENT OSCE, becoming a member of the Royal College of Surgeons, completing the verification of your documents, obtaining the required English language proficiency scores, applying for GMC registration, and then applying for jobs in the NHS. Once you get a job in the NHS, you can go to the UK. You can either get a training job or you can get a non-training job. More about that a little bit later. Then I described in my 19th video on 27th January MRCS ENT clinical skills. So MRCS ENT does test your clinical skills, not just your ability to perform clinical examinations like flexible nasoendoscopy or ear examination or nose examination or oral cavity examination. It also tests cranial nerve examination. It also tests your ability to communicate with patients. So how do you obtain history? How do you break bad news? How do you explain a disease and its management options to the patient in simple language without compromising with accuracy, without spending too much time? So this was described in that video. For MRCS ENT OSCE, the manned exam, you have 7 minutes for each task. It may be a composite task where you have to say obtain history and then obtain informed consent for a surgical procedure in 7 minutes, or you just have to perform one task like say obtain informed consent for mastoidectomy. So that was described in the video MRCS ENT clinical skills. After that, I made a video which was widely popular. This video was titled How to Pass OET in 25 Days. This was released on 28th January and really caught fire. Now, occupational English test, as I said, is a English language proficiency test designed specifically for healthcare occupations, and I remember preparing for it for about a month, and I passed it quite easily. The resource I relied on primarily was the official occupational English test website and the official occupational English test YouTube channel. So it was quite easy, and I have made detailed videos regarding that. The first one being this, which was widely popular. I believe it is the second most popular video that I have ever made. On 29th January, I made my first travel video. This was, I wanted to see markets, I wanted to see parks, palaces, and all the in central London. So that was the video. It involves you performing a writing task. So you have to write maybe a discharge letter or a letter of referral, a letter of transfer, and you have to write it in a certain word limit. You have to write it in a certain format, and the most exclude anything that is irrelevant, and you should definitely not exclude anything that is relevant. So I did not do that well in the writing section. In fact, of all the 4 sections, writing, reading, listening and speaking, I did worst in writing, but I did well. Know whether my speaking skills matched up to that of native English speakers. So, but then as it turned out, on the day of the exam, I was speaking to someone who was of Asian origin, so I felt a little more confident. But OET speaking, the interesting part of it is you are not communicating with the examiner, you are communicating with an interlocutor, and this audio recording is sent to the examiner, who basically, there are set criteria, linguistic criteria and clinical criteria, and based on these criteria they assess whether your speaking skills are good enough or not. I remember getting 430 out of 500, and it was a spectacular performance, if I may say so about myself. But I did mess up, because towards the end of the conversation, when I believed I had done everything properly, I started stammering for no particular reason. I stammered for about, I believe, 10 to 15 seconds, and that is probably the difference between getting an A grade and a B grade, which is what I got. I got a B grade. If I would have got 450, I would have got an A grade in a criteria in the OET speaking which says that your accent should not interfere with the ability of the listener to understand what you are saying. Now this really does create pressure, because you don't know whether the understood. You know that all you require is a B grade to get GMC registration, so don't be nervous. If you're nervous, you end up speaking too fast, or you become too conscious, you pause too much, you search for the right words, and that is how you don't do well in OET speaking. So the best way to do well in OET speaking is to be relaxed, which I know is difficult because it is an exam, it is a test. So, but if you can relax, definitely do well. And the interlocutors really do help in calming your nerves, because there is an interaction session that happens before the exam, before the actual speaking test, and during that communication you really start feeling at ease, and that is very important. You have to be at ease while communicating to do well in the speaking section of OET. So after OET speaking, I made a video about Borough Market. This is a particularly famous market in London, and I remember visiting it, and it was a fantastic sight. The thing I liked about Borough Market the most are the things that are available there. Especially I remember coming across a place where grass-fed milk was available. I believe it was not pasteurized milk, so that was something which I really found interesting. And another place which is there in the video, that is sugarcane juice. Sugarcane juice is something which is so widely available in India. It is sold in in Borough Market, and please check the video out to find out the price of the sugarcane juice. I made another video on 2nd February. OET reading is, again, OET reading does not mean you have to read a section and people will hear how well you read. This is not like that. You have to read a section and you have to answer questions. So there is speed reading and there is reading with understanding. So the first part of reading test tests your ability to read really quickly, and the second part is whether you can understand, comprehend the parts, the sections well or not. This is what I described in OET reading. The next video was on OET listening. Now OET listening presents a unique challenge. You get to hear the audio only once. So you wear headphones, you hear an audio and you have to write based on what you are hearing. So maybe there is an audio exchange, the conversation between two people, and some parts of the transcript are left blank, and you have to fill in those blanks based on what they are telling each other. So suppose they say something like, I injured my knee while playing badminton, and the word badminton is not there in the transcript, so you have to write badminton. You have to write that very fast. If you are taking it on paper, you have to write it. If you are taking OET on computer, as I did, you have to type it. If you take too much time to type badminton and they move on to the next section of the conversation with the next blank and you have not been paying attention, there is no way to replay the audio. So you have to be quick both in listening and in typing so that you don't miss out on any question. To their credit, the audio is crystal clear quality, and even though it is in an accent that is unfamiliar to you, maybe it will be in an English accent or a South African accent or an American accent, and miss out on the next question, and there is no way to replay the audio. So you have to be careful about that aspect. Anyway, so that's that. And after OET listening, next video was about OET, the entire process which was described. I described the OET reading, writing, listening, speaking, everything was described, and it was basically a recap of the previous class OET. If you have studied in English medium school during your school days, you will easily pass OET if you devote about 2 weeks to it. Okay, and 2 weeks is being generous, just because I want, if you are taking OET, which is an expensive exam, I believe it when I appeared in it, it cost around 35,000 rupees, Indian rupees, and you have to pay the sum in Australian dollars. It is an exam administered by authorities in Australia. The only reason why I tell you to devote 2 weeks to it is because you need to be familiar with the exam, the pattern of the exam, and the marking criteria, which is clearly mentioned in the official OET website. So just to become familiar with how you are scored, you require 2 weeks. Otherwise, the exam is quite easy. If you have studied in an English medium school and if you have communicated in English with your friends, if you've read English books, storybooks, then there is no reason why you will not do well in OET easily. But just give yourself 2 weeks and you will be good. You will do well in the OET. So this was OET oversimplified. Then on 10th February, I talked about my EPIC journey because my EPIC verification process had completed. So I remember that I was worried that people in the college where I had studied would not be familiar with this, but they were, because it was a major college. I was being unnecessarily nervous. They received the email and they replied on the same day, and my documents got verified almost on the same day. So the delay was simply because there was some transition happening between EPIC and my Intel. Otherwise, both the Royal College of Surgeons and the college from where I obtained MBBS degree verified my documents within 24 hours. So EPIC verification was quite a seamless process. The only problems lying with the fact that there was problems with the EPIC end of it, there were no problems on my end. So after EPIC journey, I talked about London Underground. This was a video that was uploaded on 11th February. This London Underground is a fascinating aspect of my visit to London. London Underground, there are so many lines, there are so many names of them, and there are so many stories about it. So I could talk endlessly about London Underground, but the thing that I liked most about it was the people commuting using the London Underground were so nice. Because I'll just tell you one thing, I have used public transport in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world, and in most places, if you are using a crowded public commute system, public transit system, there is some tussle, some issues do come up. For example, I remember using a certain underground train system, which I will not mention because I don't want to upset anyone. But in this particular train system, people would not wait for people inside the train to come outside the train before boarding the train. So if you're waiting outside on the platform, the train stops, the doors open, what would your reaction be? Would you immediately get on the train, or would you wait for all the people trying to get out of the train to finish getting out of the train? Think about it. So in London, what happens is everybody waits for people to come out of the train before boarding the train. And even if it's a really crowded train, people don't go and crowd in front of the door out of fear that they'll miss their stop. At least that's my experience. So people always wait for the passengers from getting out of the train. They wait for the passengers to get out of the train, and then the boarding starts. That was something which I really liked about the London Underground, apart from so many other things. And also I like the fact that dogs are well behaved. So that was about London Underground. Then I made a video talking about the things we should not do in London. Now already the video is 1 hour duration, so probably I'll wrap it up. I'll wrap it up with this. This marks the 30th video I had uploaded. Maybe I'll talk about the others in some other live stream. So the things you should not do in London. So of course I am not an expert in London, but there are things that I researched on YouTube regarding what you should not do when you are in London, and there are some things that I noticed myself. Such as the most important thing, one of the most important things is if you forget to tap out. So when you can use the London Underground system using cards. Either it can be bank cards like ATM cards or debit cards or credit cards, or you can use Oyster cards, or you can use Google Pay on your phone. So whatever you use, whatever mode you use, you don't use cash, right? So if you have a card or if you have a phone, you have to tap your phone on the designated area when you are entering. So you tap it, you place it against a spot, and once you tap in, the doors open. The turnstiles, I believe this is the term. The doors open and you enter. When you are leaving, again you tap your card, and again you are allowed to leave the station. If you forget to do that, suppose the doors are already open, suppose you are able to sneak in behind somebody else without tapping out, that is not a sign of something intelligent that you have done. You have not saved any fare. In fact, if you don't tap out, you get charged a lot of fine. You get charged a lot of money gets deducted from your account, let's say. So always remember to tap in and tap out. Finding out clever ways of not tapping in or tapping out is not going to be a good solution. It's not a good option actually. So that was some lesson that I learned. The other lesson I learned is that it's very important to stand on the right side on the escalator and walk on the left side. This is an issue that has been pointed out in several YouTube videos, and this is something I encountered myself. So I always ensure that I stood on the right, but some people didn't, and we would notice a little bit of passive aggressive behavior whenever that would not happen. So if you want to walk up the stairs despite it being an escalator, it doesn't make sense to me. If you are using an escalator, why would you want to walk up? Maybe you want to save time, perhaps. But if you want to do that, and if you want to walk up the escalator, you have to use the left side of it. And if you want to stand stationary, then the right side is for you. If you want to stand next to each other and talk to each other while using the escalator, there is no way to do that. So the only way you can do that is you can stand on 2 steps, one above, one below, and then turn around and talk to each other, which again has its own hazards. Again, I talked about, I think, 30 of my videos. The first 30 videos I uploaded on YouTube, and it's already been 1 hour 9 minutes, and maybe I should talk about the rest of them in a different live stream. Thank you so much for watching this so far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.